but it's fine. We can just chat generally. No one's going to be here yet, so.
Oh, okay.
I don't care, Joe. I'm doing this professionally. Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed live stream. You join us this evening as we chat transfers and we also look ahead to Liverpool. But before we get on with all of that, let's see who we've got today. Sup, Dan? How's it going, mate? Welcome to the live stream. If you want us to talk about anything, drop it in the comments below. Joe, how are you keeping, my friend? That's a very turquoisey shirt you've got there, mate.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. If you can, if you're going to the store on Saturday, get yourself one of these. They're amazing. But yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm just doing all the admin-y stuff in the background. So yeah, good stuff.
Thank you very much for that, Joe. Someone has to do it.
Exactly.
Curtis, good evening. How are you, my friend?
Very good. Very, very good. You can't get rid of me on these pods at the moment. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere all the time. So happy to be here with you wonderful people as usual. And looking forward to our little rundown that we've got planned today.
Yeah, but before we get onto that rundown, let's just take a moment to talk about just how wonderful this new hoodie is, because I think the kit team dropped an absolute stunner with this Hyper Turk training gear. Joe, give us a little twirl. Give us a little twirl, Joe. I mean, just look at it. It's so turquoise.
Love the twirl.
I mean, hello everyone, and
I'll put
welcome
the hands
to
up.
the live stream. And Joe twirling. Yeah, Joe's showing off the new Hyper Turk training gear, which has dropped this week, and it is absolutely beautiful.
This video is not sponsored by the Brighton & Hove Albion retail team.
No, but if they do want to sponsor us and send us some, discounted or free stuff, then that'd be pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let's actually talk some football then, guys. Let's talk about one of my favorite things this week, which has been episodes of things that have never happened. Because this week we have heard on multiple occasions that apparently Brighton & Hove Albion have slashed the price of Moises Caicedo by £20 million. Because, that's definitely how Brighton & Hove Albion...
Tom, did you hear that he told his postman he wants to join Liverpool?
I had heard. I mean, it was an Albion Obsessed exclusive that Moises Caicedo... What was it, Joe? He told his barber's sister's brother's dog walker that he's definitely always wanted to play for Liverpool. In fact, it was a dream of his. Isn't that correct?
You heard it here first. In fact, on his way home from Gatwick Airport, he drove past Anfield. And he said to his girlfriend, "How amazing would it be to play at that ground?" He didn't get lost, by the way. It's definitely on the way home from Gatwick Airport.
You know what we call that in the business, guys? We call that a huge scoop, and we're giving that to you guys right now. So well done. That's pretty cool.
Now I'm going to obsess at us if it doesn't happen. Yeah, it's been absolutely mad, isn't it? I mean, Dan's got his spot on here, slashing the cost of a player we don't want to sell. I mean, these people, it's their job to report things in the media, and it's just, I mean, I know it's silly season. I get it's January and rumors are flying everywhere, and I get people will be interested in the likes of Moises and Alexis and Trossard. I get that, but whoever thought it was a good idea to run a story that we would slash the price, not just reduce, slash the price of a player that we definitely do not want to sell. It's just absurd. Curtis, how much money would it take, in your opinion, for a club, any club, to land Moises this January? Bearing in mind, of course, that Tony Bloom historically doesn't like doing business in January.
I'm trying to be realistic here, obviously, because I could say like 200 million and he's yours, but realistically, I feel like 75, something like that. I'd be that's a nice number. I like 7 and I like 5, so together 75 million is a good price. But I know that Tony Bloom's not going to be strong-armed into a deal, and he's definitely not slashing anything. So yeah, hopefully we hold out on him, and hopefully we can keep him, and maybe he goes in the summer. We'll see.
How about you, Joe? What's the magic number, if you will? What do you think Tony would accept an offer for Moises?
Well, Dan says Moises is worth 70 to 80 million. I would go north of that 80 million figure and say 85 to 90 million. We don't want to sell him. We're not slashing any prices. He's got a long contract. So why should we be selling a player that is definitely more impactful than what Kukurea was for our team? And we sold Kukurea for 62. So in my mind, Caicedo goes for a lot more than that.
But you've got to
And
remember, Joe, Moises is only on £3 and a packet of Watsits a week because I read it on the internet.
Yeah, that's the other bullshit that was. Oh, sorry for swearing before 9 o'clock, but
Joseph.
I know, but
It's
that's
not
just
even the
That's
watershed.
just the rubbish that gets spouted in the media. Like, how do they know what wages they're on?
Because I did it on FIFA.
Yeah, mostly.
Madness. Absolute madness.
Madness, absolute madness. Good evening, Cam. Welcome to the live stream. And I think this is the main thing here, isn't it? Is that we don't need to sell him. We're under no pressure whatsoever. So it really would be a ridiculous sum of money for Tony Bloom to allow such a transfer to happen. He is so important for us. I mean, we talked about the Arsenal game, Curtis, and how we all thought that, given the context of that game, Moises Caicedo could have been the big difference in that game. I can't see us selling him at all in January, if I'm being brutally honest.
I mean, we hold all the cards here. I mean, ultimately, and yeah, you're absolutely correct. He's a real game changer when he's on it, and he is mostly on it all the time. So yeah, I don't see him going in this window. But if he did, it also wouldn't surprise me. But it would have to be for a decent amount of money. So because he's worth every penny and more. So
Can I also ask the chat? Any guesses as to who Moises Caicedo is linked to right now? Are there any? It's wild. They've never taken anything from our club. There's a clue. Guess in the comments. Who are they?
Tranmere Rovers.
Yeah, you're right, Tom. You're right. Spot on.
So it's been a bit of a mad one. Obviously, let us know in the comments what you're thinking of all these transfer rumors. I mean, at the moment, a lot of it is a lot of outs. Obviously, I think definitely because of how well some of our guys did at the World Cup. Another one of those players that went on to do reasonably well in the World Cup was Alexis McAllister. Did all right. Moises de Crowley, yeah, I heard that too. With James
he's set to be their new manager. They're constantly getting new managers in, so why not him?
What an absolute mess of a football club Crawley is turning into. What a sad state of affairs. But yeah, just back to Alexis McAllister. Then he's another player that I think I read today that someone apparently valued him before the World Cup at about £30 million. I mean, Joe, again, what a ridiculous sort of assumption based on Ben White, a season of Ben White, 50 million, a season of Kukurea, 63 million, and Bissouma with a year left on his contract at 32 million. Alexis just signed a brand new deal for 4 years, was it? And being told that he might be worth about 30 million. What a load of nonsense.
Who values these players? Honestly. Tony Bloom values our players. Paul Barber values our players. Nobody else knows what we want to sell them for. Nobody else knows how much discount we're going to put on them. It's not the frigging DFS sale. We're a serious football club, and it is actually insulting. As Cam says, insulting numbers. It is absolutely insulting to a football club that are doing so well and have scouted so unbelievably perfectly, that people will just come in and just say, oh, yeah, that player that Brighton and Hove Albion have located and Brighton and Hove Albion have given the chance, they're only worth 30 million. A top 6 team will get them. Yes, a top 6 team probably will get them, but they'll get them for the fair price, and they'll get them for the price that we say. As you've said it so many times, Tom, you don't go into a shop, pick up a packet of biscuits for 40p, go to the counter and say, no, I want it for 20. It's just ridiculous.
You'd get laughed at the shop. you'd get laughed out of the negotiations. I don't know how negotiations work. I don't know if it's like an email or a phone call, but I can just imagine ringing up Paul Barber and saying, "Hi, Paul, we'd like to buy Alexis McAllister for 15 million." You'd either get the dial tone to say he's hung up, or you just get laughed at.
Well, considering Paul Barber said you wouldn't even get his laces for £42 million. So these stupid, well, that's regards Moises. These stupid valuations are just mind-blowing.
What annoys me most is like when the other fan bases talk about us and our players, they're like, "Oh, it's Brighton," like we're just sort of a nothing team or whatever. Or like when I see sort of like reactions to games, sometimes I see people like, "Oh, well, we're losing to what's essentially a championship side." It's like, come on, mate. Like this is like what? It's our 5th or 6th season now, right? In the Premier League. So, yeah, exactly. Like, come on, put some respect on our name now. At this point, look where we are. Like, we've just been getting better and better and better, and we deserve that respect.
Yeah, it's really funny how we're deemed as teams like Brighton, yet so many of the big teams are coveting our players, and it's ridiculous. Cam says, remember when City tried to go for Cucurella for like 30 million? It's exactly the same sort of thing, and I think I totally get that as Brighton and Hove Albion fans, we are totally biased, so we probably inflate the numbers a little bit. Of course we do, because that is our prerogative as Brighton fans. However, I think, as you say, Joe, it's not just about what Chelsea or Man City or Liverpool or whoever one of these clubs are that apparently want Moises and Alexis and wanted Cucurella. It's not just about what they value them at, it's about what Tony Bloom values them at. And if we don't want to sell, we are under no obligation to do so. So, you get a lot of opposition fans saying, Moises Caicedo, £70 million. What are they smoking? They're only Brighton. It's like, yeah, but we don't want, as you say, Joe, it's the analogy of going into like a supermarket, doing your weekly shop, and then getting to the cashier. Then the cashier says, "All right, that'd be £100, please," and you go, "Nah, it's not worth it. I'll have it for 40, please."
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't like it at Liverpool if we went, "Oh, I like Van Dijk. We'll give you, I don't know, 25 million for him." And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, but that's what we want to pay for him, though. So that's what we will pay."
I think it's simple, and to use the shop analogy, still, if you don't like the shop's prices, I'm not gonna shop at Waitrose because it's pricey in there.
No one does their shopping at Waitrose, Joe. They get their bits from Waitrose.
So I'll go to Morrison's, I'll go to Aldi because I can afford that. So do you know what? Go to someone that's going to give you a ridiculous price, because that's not Brighton Hove Albion. And it's been proven on so many transfers that we don't roll over easy. We will hold out for the right price, and until we get that, it's no business.
Yeah, and Dan's made a really good point here about lowball bids to unsettle players, and it's definitely a tactic that clubs use, and I'm sure that we might have used it ourselves in the past. Putting in a low bid, get the player going, "Oh, I would like a move there," to get them to put pressure on the club to get the move. Obviously, anyone who's trying that with Brighton obviously doesn't know our history in regards to how we do business. So, I mean, Cucurella apparently put a transfer request in. There you go. He never got his move to City, though, did he? It took a ridiculous bid from Chelsea, and I think a lot of Chelsea fans are now absolutely fuming that they've paid £63 million because Cucurella has he's not made much of his time at Chelsea at all, and Bissouma's another one. So let's move on to this point, guys. Bissouma and Cucurella, and to some extent Ben White in his first season at Arsenal, have shown that the grass isn't always greener, as the saying goes. Cucurella and Bissouma not performing well for their new clubs whatsoever. And especially when you consider Cucurella is now playing under what is his former manager in Graham Potter, it makes it even sort of like more strange. So do you think that Bissouma and Cucurella can be used as a check those guys out? They're not doing so well anymore, are they? What do you make of that, Joe?
100%. Maybe you can say it's too early if you're using Ben White as the example as well. He didn't have an amazing first season, but he did okay. He was still in the team pretty much all the time, except for when he got injured, of course. So I think with Ben White it was a different situation because he was a young progressive player, whereas with Cucurella you had a player that took the Premier League by storm. £62 million spent so he could go and get his big money move, his dream move. And he's gone there. You probably thought based on last season, okay, Cucurella will probably do quite well at a top 6 club. Like when Man City were looking at him, I was thinking Pep's going to turn him into a different beast. And it just simply hasn't worked for him yet. So I think players can definitely look at that and think about the amount of pressure that gets put on them and maybe think twice. But then we don't know, I'm not in the football business, so I don't know exactly how much their wages improve or exactly how much better their lifestyle is as opposed to playing for Brighton. But we're still a Premier League football club, so it's not exactly going to be washing boots and driving a Ford Fiesta. So yeah, it does annoy me, but yeah, it's just that the player's choice. And I think people are going to come back on this when he does eventually move. But I think Alexis will stay. He will to at least the summer. He's in no rush to leave. The boy has so much class. Every single video you've seen of him since the World Cup, the attitude he played with against Middlesbrough. He came on with 45 minutes to go, and got man of the match. That just sums him up. And when you look at Leandro Trossard coming back from the World Cup with a stinking attitude, you sort of have to sum up, okay, who do you actually want playing for this football club? I know it's only been a few games and I can't overly judge Trossard. Rumours are that he had a calf injury and that's why he didn't travel to Middlesbrough. We'll see, obviously, against Liverpool if he's on the bench or if he starts. But even when he does play, you look at him and think, do you want to be here? Really? We'll see.
Yeah, let's talk about Leandro a little bit. And again, guys, if you're watching, drop us your thoughts down in the comments below. We're happy to talk about anything you want us to talk about. In regards to Leandro Trossard, then Curtis, we've done this a bit on the pod. We've talked about his attitude, generally speaking, turns up for the games against the top 6, plays against the mid-table, lower table teams, and never particularly performs well. In terms of like where we stand with wingers, at least we've got March, we've got Mitoma, we've got Sarmiento, we've got Enciso, and we've also got Simona Dingra, who's currently ripping it up at Union Saint-Gilloise over in Belgium. So we've got 5 good wingers, 2 of which I'd probably say are starting quality, Mitoma and March. Sarmiento can definitely do a job, and Enciso and Dingra, obviously, young, jury still out a little bit. But with that strength and depth in those positions, do you think it's, I would say the word necessary, to keep hold of Trossard if a bid came in?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've got a lot of really good options in those sorts of positions. So I'm not too worried if we were to lose him. I feel like De Zerbi would have a contingency for that sort of thing, or he might even be looking for someone else to fill that Trossard-shaped hole anyway.
Pascal Gross. He can fill every hole.
There we load. Completely lost my train of thought. No, there we go. If he was to, I've said this before, but if a good offer came in for him, I wouldn't be too upset about him leaving at this point, just because it sort of felt like he hasn't come back from the World Cup. Like the shell is here, but he is elsewhere. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he turns up against Liverpool if he's starting, and he has a bloody good game, and he kicks on from here, because when he's on, he's fantastic, and I love the guy. I think he seems like a great person and a really good player when he wants to play, but just seemingly at the moment he hasn't wanted to play. So
yeah, and I think what Dan's alluding to in the comment below is that Trossard has reportedly spoken to the press in Belgium on previous transfer windows and said he's open to a move. And of course, I understand the sort of sense of it, because at the end of the day, these guys are professional footballers and they want to play at the top level. They want to be playing at the top of the Premier League. They want to be playing in Europe. These guys want to have that. but there's something quite, as fans, we can find that quite abrasive when people are like, no, I want to play a higher level. I want to play for a bigger team. So as fans, that's like the worst thing you can do, because it's going to just really annoy people when you say stuff like that. I get the sentiment, but probably not the best thing to do. Run to the press and say, but I want to play for Chelsea.
And it's always when he goes on international duty that he comes back and there's story. It's almost happened every single time. So I don't know what goes on over there. But who are we to say?
It's always one of those things that whenever Trossard comes back from Belgium, he's normally played quite well for Belgium, he comes back and his stock is really high and he plays with a bit of a swagger, a bit of a sort of a cockiness, a bit like what we saw from Alexis against Middlesbrough. Obviously, Belgium had a pretty poor World Cup, and that might still be playing on his mind. I mean, we don't know, but De Zerbi's been very forthright with his comments that Trossard needs to train harder, he needs to work harder when he's on the pitch. And what I really admire about Roberto De Zerbi is that it's that sort of, doesn't matter who you are, if you're not playing well, he's not going to start you. And let's be honest, who would you drop for Trossard at the moment when Mitoma and March are in such good form? You just wouldn't. He doesn't deserve to make the starting 11 at the moment, but hopefully things can change. Hopefully Trossard can turn it around. Really briefly, before we start looking ahead to Liverpool, Joe, we got into a spot of bother at the weekend about a tweet that we put out in regards to our goal output. So you might have seen it, viewers. We tweeted out some stats that we found quite interesting about Roberto De Zerbi's first few games. Not the first few games, sorry, the last few games where we've scored an absolute hatful. And we compared that to stats at the beginning of last season, and we got a bit moaned at on Twitter by Brighton fans saying it was an unfair stat. Take it how you like. But then Chelsea fans who have been Potter out since day one suddenly appearing on our feed, telling us how wrong we are. Joe, it was pretty interesting weekend, was it not?
Yeah. First of all, the Graham Potter comments are an insult to Tony Bloom and Paul Barber, because they're the ones that lay the foundation of this football club. It's just their shrewd business that gets us going in the correct direction. As I've said before on the podcast, Graham Potter did exactly that. He took us to a new level from Chris Hughton, and in time, we will be thankful for his work here. De Zerbi has taken us to extreme levels of attacking football. Yes, we concede more goals. We are not that stupid. But 5 goals we've added to that total that I put on since we tweeted that. And I know we were playing against a championship team, blah, blah, blah. But look at how many Premier League clubs got beaten by championship teams or lower. I think Aston Villa went out to a League 2 team. So don't come at me with that comment. We've added 5 more goals to that total, Tom. And it's fantastic to see. We played that game under Hughton. If we played that game under Graham Potter, we probably would have won 2-3-0. But De Zerbi went all out, 5-1. And also to react to the Charlton game and still use that as motivation, that shows the mentality of the guy. It's brilliant.
It really does. And some of the comments we also got were from Liverpool fans who were not looking forward to playing us. And I think, Curtis, this is the first time I can remember a team like Liverpool, their fans being afraid or nervous about playing Brighton and Hove Albion. I mean, what a time to be alive.
I mean, yeah, I was watching a preview last night, the Liverpool Brighton build-ups, and they said that they're not confident really at the moment, considering their form and whatnot. And they were saying, like rightfully, I think we've got like, win-loss or something at the moment, but we've been playing, incredibly good football and scoring, freely. And considering that Liverpool's defense is a little bit all over the place at the moment, what with Van Dijk being out for a little bit and stuff, I think we have every right to be confident, and that they have, they're going to feel a bit nervous. I do feel like it's going to be a really hard game, cagey affair, shall we say? So yeah.
Can I just point out this comment? Nick Still, he's my cousin. He's a Liverpool fan. So you can see he clearly backs his star striker there.
Well,
Please
if he kicks
clear
it, if
the
he kicks
seats
it from
conversion.
the stadium, I'll catch it from where I am right
There
now.
you go.
So
See, what you guys don't understand is that we actually were, we spent years chasing Nunez. What you guys don't know is actually we were successful and we sent him to Liverpool as a ploy. And what's going to happen is after the 90th minute, he's going to take off his Liverpool shirt. He's going to put a Brighton shirt on, and it's going to absolute scenes. But let's get a Liverpool supporter on the show for balance. We like a bit of balance. We like to chat to fans from opposing teams across the Premier League. So we are going to welcome Jack. Jack, my friend, thank you very much for joining us on the live stream. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you. How's the audio? Is everything all right on your end?
perfect. Jack,
Lovely,
you beautiful man. It's wonderful to see you.
Curtis, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, guys. So a Liverpool perspective. So first and foremost, I'd like to say that, I just heard you mention Nunez there. I'm in the camp of he will. Thank you, Daniel. I'm very much in the camp of he will come good. He is just lacking a run of goals right now. I'm in the firm belief that he will, once he gets his form back again and once he starts hitting the target, because you can't really fault his athleticism, his commitment. Obviously, the crowd is behind him 100% as well, which, some strikers can sometimes join a club and sometimes don't have that support from the fans. They sort of get on their back. They can see the amount of work that he's putting in to perform for the team. I just think, he just needs a goal or two, and then with that, he'll be off to the races. But he's already got 5 goals this season. And if you look at our top goal scorers, he's, I think, the third in terms of our goal scorers. I think Firmino and Salah are above him. But that doesn't obviously justify the position that we're in right now, where we are pushing really at this moment in time now for Champions League, and looking where we are in the table and looking at the teams around us, including Brighton, then, which, great credit to you considering the situation that you were dealt with very much at the start of the season. It's going to be an interesting game. I just wanted to get your perspective on Liverpool first, if it's not been already addressed. Just so I can have something to sort of counteract, if maybe.
Yeah, of course. So, Joe, what have you made of Liverpool's season so far?
Well, I think they're in a slight transition period from their massive success under Jurgen Klopp. There's no doubting that he's been unbelievably successful at Liverpool, and there's a lot of talk of will he stay, won't he stay? I think he should stay. I think he's built so much at that football club, and he could go down as, if he isn't already, a Liverpool legend. I mean, he's won you the league, he's won you the Champions League, he's won you the Carabao Cup. God knows what else he's won you. So it's been
everything we is possible for him. He has won, and
so it's been a massive success. You've lost Mane, you've lost, quite a few players that give you that firepower. Like Firmino's fallen off it a little bit. No longer is the Mane, Firmino, Salah front line, which used to scare the bejesus out of the whole league. So I think people need to give their new players some time, and just back the process, because it will come good again.
Yeah,
I think injuries have been your biggest problem, though. I would argue of this season.
Yeah.
A lot of your key players have been out for a decent amount of time, and I think without the likes of Van Dijk really shoring up that back area, it's going to be a bit tricky. But I feel like I do agree. I feel like Nunez will kick on eventually for you. It's hard to score at this level anyway, especially with all this pressure on your back at such a big club. So.
How do you guys score goals? You don't have an out-and-out striker. This is what baffles me. How?
Everybody just chips in, I think.
How?
It's like a bake sale, Jack. Everyone just chips in.
The discussion, because of under Potter, we didn't score. We went through a terrible, 2.5 years of not scoring. It was only right
and not
at the end.
necessarily signing a striker as well, and selling Mopé at the time as well. I was like, well, they're the only striker that they out and out striker to my knowledge that you guys had, and then to sell him and obviously see what's happening now at Everton, which from my side of things is very fun to watch. But just to sort of echo some of the points that was made, then it's that. The injury side of thing, but let's not forget we played in every possible fixture available to us last year. I think we've gone through this process, particularly after winning the league, COVID aside, obviously given the circumstances. We are a team that sort of maybe has to have a hangover. That's kind of what I will call it now. We go on these incredible runs, a fantastic home record that is like the longest one we've done in history, unbeaten in a stupid amount of games, and to have players the likes of Mane, Gini Wijnaldum, who, like you say, were the firepower in our team. They led the press and the high line, and it seems like with the loss of those types of players and the inclusion of Thiago, who is like a Rolls Royce footballer, we sort of need like a Bugatti, realistically, going in our team. To sort of maintain that when you've got the likes of now Henderson, who's obviously a captain and a leader, which is worth having around the club for sure. But then you've got the likes of Milner, who obviously now is 37. I don't know. He's getting his bus pass soon, as far as I'm aware. You've got Oxlade-Chamberlain, very injury prone and very inconsistent. You have, again, Naby Keita, a big money signing. I think he's one of the third or fourth biggest signing in our history, if I'm not mistaken, which, he hasn't been the ever-present midfielder that we would have hoped because of injuries or just hasn't necessarily worked. I think he was sort of like the prototype for like the Thiago player, or at least morphed into that, where he's been sort of like the playmaker, but he can sort of turn and dribble, but maybe hasn't got that electrifying pace to run at a defense. Also, my cat has just joined me, so if that just happens,
we're used to
there
it.
it is.
This cat always joins in, so we're used to it.
Well, this is Crumble. She appears frequently whenever she's sort of here. I don't know if you can hear her or see her, but there we go. But yeah, I think our midfield is just we've got 4 out of contract in the summer. I'm assuming Kev is a Liverpool fan there as well. Yeah. So we're just in need of some reinforcements in midfield. I would, from what are the reports and some things that have been said, like we're looking at around about a 200 to 300 million pound like transfer, like money available for transfers in the summer.
That's mad. That's absolutely insane.
But I'm also like, well, if that's available, then why can't we use some of that now when our midfield is crying out for it? Where, like I say, notable players that are over 30 now, and you've got players that are maybe still unproven, likes of Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones, that are very much players for the future, that maybe aren't ready for the amount of football that is being demanded of them. Again, Curtis Jones is sort of can play centre mid, but is also more of a winger, so he's not necessarily a nailed down position. Fabinho is out of form and is playing probably the worst he has in a Liverpool shirt. I remember there was a video I just came across on Twitter recently that was like his performance in the 4-0 win against Barcelona, and it was like the best halfback. I play a lot of Football Manager, so hopefully some of you guys will know some of the roles, but it's like the best halfback position you've ever seen, where he's dropping deep, grabbing the ball and stopping everything. So honestly, we are in a progression. But prior to the Bournemouth game that happened, we had 1-4 on the trot. So it's like something is working, but I think a lot of fans sort of see like are very much desperate for. We want a midfield of Bellingham, Enzo Fernandez, and we want CAICEDO as well, please. That's what we want our midfield to be in the future. And all three of you shouldn't shake your heads, but for me, he would be like...
Cut him off.
Curtis, where did you find this dude? Come on now.
But that's what we're crying out for. Like we want to sign all these 3 players and think that'll fix everything. It's like, well, no, because you need team cohesion. You need.
See, the thing is, Jack, I feel like you're talking about how you want Bugatti players. You want what we have. We have a lot of recently MOT'd Vauxhall Astra players out there, just willing to give all they can and
Just
just do.
ticking over nicely. What? How's
Yeah.
Adam Lallana going for you?
He's
Oh,
actually
Adam
really
Lallana,
great. Yeah. Adam
You guys-
Lallana is my dad.
You guys talk about Adam Lallana the same way Liverpool fans talk about Thiago. It's like, oh, he can't really run, but the technical ability of the
I love him.
man. What a wonderful man.
Absolutely adore Adam Lallana. And just quickly, we've got a voice message from Aaron,
Okay.
who's a co-host on the pod, of his opinion on Liverpool. So we'll give that a quick listen to.
Prepare yourself,
if
Jack.
you guys can hear that.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
prepare.
Opinion, I think Liverpool under Klopp, that era is coming to an end. I think that the players are starting to get a little bit old now to deal with the press and everything like that. The high press that Liverpool used to have. I think the players are worn out. I just think it is coming to an end. I'm not scared of Liverpool personally, not anymore. And I think they're there for the taking, in my opinion.
We love Aaron. He talks about
That
into
was Aaron.
Let's just talk about that first, one of those points that Aaron made there, because I think that was really present in the Anfield game, and that was the lack of press. So we're so used to Liverpool being a high press team. Jurgen Klopp work hard from minute one, but we didn't see that in Liverpool, especially for the first half. We were 2-0 up within 20 minutes, and we were all very shocked because there was no press. It was very easy until Liverpool got their act together. I mean, what was your interpretation, Jack, of that 3-3 thrilling draw at Anfield earlier in the season?
That was the first game as well, wasn't it? For
De Zerbi's first game with us.
Yeah. So I think when you look at that, where you've got a manager who's obviously just coming to a new club, wants to set their ideology and their type of play. I don't know how long he really had with the team prior. Did he join during was it 2 weeks, 2 days?
We had 2 weeks, but that was because
of an international break, was it?
International break, and then again was called off.
Yeah, I thought so. So that's the time where you've got a bit of cohesion. Got a manager with their coaches looking to bring in people and to sort of set the ball rolling. I think Liverpool, as a result, maybe didn't know what to actually expect. As a result, and obviously the game ended up being completely entertaining. And you've got that instant, because I think in your guys' eyes, you were like, "Oh, Potter's left, so what are we going to do now?" sort of thing. He's took all the coaching staff with him. He's took players with him, and so it's like, well, how are we going to continue the fantastic build and trajectory that you've developed over the past few years since getting promoted? So, and again, from Liverpool's point of view, they may still, I think there was an element of maybe underestimating what the type of team they were coming up against. I'm not 100% sure what the starting 11 with Liverpool was on that day, if I'm honest. But I would have thought that, it would have been it was an entertaining game, obviously a 3-3 filler, which is obviously really nice to see in the Premier League from a Liverpool perspective. It's like everyone thinks that everyone that's maybe not Manchester City, it's like, oh, we should beat everyone because we've done it before, more or less. Well, we've got on these runs where we shouldn't fear anyone. But like you say, with the transition of players being older, more injuries, particularly up front and in midfield, it's like it's kind of left to certain players to sort of step up now. And I think, you're looking at the likes of like Mo Salah, who's been not necessarily off it this season because he has still produced goals, but he's nowhere near the numbers he was originally because of the type of style and the style of play that we've had to adapt and change to accommodate players like Thiago. And I really just consider like that Thiago signing like the initiation of this transition that we're in. And when people mention like, oh, the Klopp era is coming to an end, he's just signed a new deal. He signed a new deal at the start of the season, so he's going to oversee any progression or any transition that's going to happen to whoever comes in next. Whether that be, because the dream for Liverpool is like, oh, I want Steven Gerrard as my manager, and I want Xabi Alonso as my manager. I want Sami Hyypiä on the backroom staff. I want John Arnorisa to be.
No, you don't. You do not want Sami Hyypiä.
Stay away from Sami Hyypiä.
I was saying that just to get a reaction. But like that's the dream. Like whenever I play Football Manager, I was like, if I ever start a Liverpool save, I'm like, right, let's search for staff and favorite club Liverpool and just see who comes up, and then just say, oh yeah, let's get them in. Jari Litmanen, he can be in a tactical coach. That's fine.
Jack, we get it. You're a gamer. Jesus Christ. Oh.
No, I'm not, Curtis. Not as much as I used to be. But
Okay.
all talk aside, like all that side away, it's like from what I remember of the game, it was just very much end-to-end stuff. And we needed to kick up the arse. We gave ourselves a kick up the arse, and it became arguably one of the most entertaining games of the season. But like this season for us, I think, as I say, it's just been a very much a hangover transitional season. Whether it's going in a good direction right now, I don't know. But I feel like if you gave us a fully fit team with with no injuries and a schedule that is kind to us, because we are out now, we are out of potentially playing Brighton again in the FA Cup not long after as well. So I think this game can be a nice little like reminder of what you guys are capable of, because now that you've had the time of a new manager coming in to settle and give put their stance on things, it's
Jurgen Klopp
we know what to
said,
expect a bit better.
Jurgen Klopp said that Brighton are famous for playing proper football in the week. So, yeah, big props to Jurgen for that. We do.
Oh yeah,
So,
game recognizes game, you know.
So, Jack, just out of interest, like where do you see Liverpool at the end of the season? If you had to predict sort of a place in that table right now, if I had to put you on the spot, what would that look like? Do you think?
The optimist in me says top 4, so I think potentially 4th.
Do you still think you can do that?
But that's the optimist in me. I think the realist in me, I think more likely 5th or 6th. I think we're looking at Europa League or Europa Conference possibly as well. Which if you think about where we were last season, Champions League final, for us to drop off that much. I think we'll be in Europe, but I don't think we'll be in the Champions League. But I feel like without the Champions League football and the revenue that comes with that, I think as much as people are saying that we've got a war chest of 200 million, 300 million, it's not necessarily going to be that easy to buy maybe and attract the type of players that we would want. I think the winter January transfer windows that we've had recently have been reasonably good. Obviously, the likes of Luis Diaz coming in that was trying to be that Mane replacement from the start of this season, really, and obviously Cody Gakpo, who made a decent had a good run, a good game against Wolves. So it'd be interesting to see what more that he can do. But again, he can play anywhere across that front three. If we can get Jota back, I think someone mentioned there as well, like Bobby Firmino will be 31 and be our oldest striker at the start of next season, who's also out of contract this season. So we could be saving money in terms of the like the wages. So maybe we're saving money in that case that can then be readjusted with the budgets and stuff that we have available. So we might be able to sign more players. But I think the value, like the actual war chest that we may be given is, I don't know. It says 200 million, but I don't know how much of that you really need to buy the likes of a player of Jude Bellingham's quality or Enzo Fernandez based on the World Cup. I would just want. I think since Gini Wijnaldum left, our midfield has just lacked someone that would just run around and chase balls down, and that's why I want CAICEDO, please.
I mean, do you see yourself? Do you see Liverpool? Do you see Liverpool actually getting many more players in before the end of the window, or do you reckon that will be a summer thing?
I think it'll be a summer rebuild if it's going to be anything, because at the same time we're potentially the club is more or less up for sale and is looking for potential investment, potential like buyers and bidders and stuff. So it kind of restricts as much as it's like the current staff and the current owners being like, oh, you've got this money available, but by the way, we may not be here by the time that actually happens. So it's kind of like, how much are they going to commit now and give money in the in this transfer window if they're looking at pastures new on the horizon. So that's the situation that I believe, really, that I don't think we're going to make any more transfers this window unless people leave. Or, and at the same time, since Oxlade-Chamberlain and Naby Keita have become available in this last run of games, I've seen reports of people like of Klopp considering maybe renewing their contracts. And it's like, do we really need like a nearly 30-year-old Oxlade-Chamberlain? Need one out before we can do anything. Exactly what Kev O'Sullivan said there. Yeah, we just need one out. And I don't think Naby's been available enough for him to justify a new contract. And again, I feel like that in terms of like the Klopp era of signings, who has been pretty much, at least a 7 or 8 out of 10 in terms of the signings. I feel like Naby is probably the outstanding one that is sort of not lived up to the valuation or lived up to the promise that he may have shown when he was at Leipzig. But I feel like, we're in a position now where there's, we've played all 19 teams now, so it's literally a brand new half of the season. Let's try and, as much as we are, I think 8 points off of the team ahead. I think we're on 28, and then one of the team above. I haven't got the Liga table up. If anybody else has, maybe they can give me a shout. But like the way that I see it is that it's obviously another half of the season to go, so we'll have to just wait and see how it really plays out. I'm just getting the table up now, so yeah, we're on 28 points. Tottenham ahead, next on 33, so there's a 5-point gap, and then the rest are all so you've got Man United, Newcastle, City, and Arsenal. Also, who are we predicting to win the league?
I actually believe,
I don't want to say
unfortunately, because we'll never hear the end of it, because Arsenal fans. But I feel like Arsenal have done so well this season. If they fall off, it will be mad. But we wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Man City do a Man City and win it
last
by
game
a point.
of the season, or winning it on goal difference or something.
Yep.
I am so excited about the prospect of Newcastle in the Champions League. European nights at St James's Park will just be unreal. Ownership aside, I think realistically the manager has done the work here. He's brought in maybe 3 players, Isaac, Bruno, and
Bruno.
Don't say his name.
It's all right. We know he's the elephant in the room, the very tall one.
A beautiful elephant in the room.
We love him. We love him to bits. Big.
In fact, we did a quiz at the end of last season, Jack, and one of the quiz questions was: since Dan Burn left the football club, how many times did we mention him in the podcast? And what was it, Tom?
Did Dan Burn count it?
Yeah,
Tom
sat
did. Through all the episodes and counted, and it was something like it was in the 30s. We mentioned him quite a lot. We're Aaron, one of our hosts, Aaron. He, we joke, but we missed Dan Burn because he was a sensational player, and it was really great to see him score the other night. By the way, that was fantastic for Brighton fans to see. And so I suppose now, Jack, bringing it to sort of like what we're going to be coming up against this weekend. How do you think Liverpool will set up against Brighton now that De Zerbi's had a bit more time in the league? I mean, we had some Liverpool fans responding to a recent tweet we put out about how many goals we're scoring at the moment, and they didn't seem too hopeful. How do you think Liverpool will deal with the high scoring Roberto De Zerbi Brighton?
Well, I'm just looking at our head to head in the Premier League, and you do have a win over us, which is worth saying, and it was around about this time last year, actually. So I think the way that we line up, given our circumstances, I think we're likely to. Obviously, the Van Dijk omission is going to be interesting to see. Joe Gomez has been fit all season and has not featured, which I think is surprising to me, because he has a great partnership with Van Dijk. Obviously, Konate and Matip seem to be ahead of him now, but he can still, even when he has filled in at right back, like his vision and his passing is actually quite underrated, I think, for someone who's predominantly known as a centre back. But again, he's in his mid-20s now. I think he's 24, 25 this year, so he should be playing regularly. And for the fact that he's not, and he seems to be quite happy to be like either a stand-in. So I just think I don't think we will play Matip and Konate if they're both fit. I don't think that'll be. I don't think it's you've got too much of the same players. So I think you like to see Joe Gomez start. I personally would love to see Fabinho drop and play a centre back, because I feel like he will gain more confidence in defensively doing that. Now that obviously means that who do you put in that midfield 3? Because I feel like you can't nail down any of those places at the moment due to injuries or due to inconsistent form. My sweet prince. I'm assuming that's Dan Burns there. Yeah, Dan Burn. So I think you Alisson in goal, your Trent right back, your Robertson left back.
Talking of Trent there, Jack. So obviously a lot is made of Trent's defensive duty. So he will be up against Karu Mitoma, who I don't know if you've seen much of Mitoma. He likes to turn.
I was going to say when he came on, I think in the end of the first game, did he grab a goal, or at least like he was creative enough, wasn't he? Like he assisted, doesn't he? Yeah, I can't remember.
Very creative. I believe he got an assist on Trossard.
The equaliser, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
third goal, I
Yes,
think it
the
was.
third goal.
Yeah.
And again, he was introduced to the match late on, so I think he's I think that with Trent's, everyone looks at his defensive work, which I think to an average footballer is not bad, but because everything else is so well rounded, it's the one standout thing that people always pull him up on is his defensive work or maybe tracking back and that kind of thing. It'll be box office. I think as an athlete, everyone's saying he's going to tear him a new one. Oh no, I don't think he's going to tear him a new one. I feel like that we're going to. Trent will play his game, and the benefit was that he'd always have a player next to him. Jordan Henderson would always fill in to allow the likes of Trent to go forward. If you like, if going back to like the World Cup, if England were playing, if you wanted to start Henderson in mid or just wanted to start Trent, you have to play Henderson because of the type of style and play. Trent goes on, and then Henderson drops and fills in as a Carrillo, if we're talking footy manager terms. He will drop and fill in the gap that's left behind. So we'll come wide and drop. Kev's just saying there 43 and down doesn't seem to be training for. So Salah up top, Elliot right, Gakpo 10, Ox wide left, and the rest picks itself. I don't know if it does pick itself, though. That's the thing. The midfield. I don't want another midfield of Henderson, Fabinho, and Thiago, really. If I'm honest.
I think the midfield is where the game's going to be won and lost. I think it very often is. I know, obviously.
And we've got Caicedo and a World Cup winner, so
Yeah.
For us, it'll be Caicedo, McAllister, and then it's just about who plays 10, whether that'll be
And Adam Lallana. Yeah, so
then you'd have to drop Gross, and obviously Gross.
He's in good form at the moment, isn't he? Yeah, because you got Gross, Trossard, and McAllister are like your top scoring players this season.
Trossard, I can't see Trossard starting. I know he scored a hat trick against you guys last time, but
he's been so out of form. It wouldn't make sense to.
I was going to say he scored 7 goals this season, and 3 of them were against us. So,
yeah, I mean, he's gone missing since then. I think, I think it was the Liverpool game and the Chelsea game. He turned up for. He always turns up for games against the
bigger teams.
Yeah, but then
the shop window factor, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some level of it. But I mean, from our perspective, the only question mark for me, at least, is who plays 10, and that'll be between Gross and Trossard. No, not Gross and Trossard. Sorry, Gross and Adam Lallana. But most of our team picks itself, to be honest. I think
at the moment it does, yeah.
At the moment, or Ferguson and Welbeck potentially, but I think it'll be Ferguson.
Well, Welbeck's legs are made of penne, so I would go for Ferguson.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can have. I know we've made it a talking point on the podcast previously, and I'd done a parlay about it today as well. But I honestly don't think there's any debate whatsoever as to who starts up front for us at the moment. It has to be Evan Ferguson. The last 2.5 games, he's been fantastic. He's given us a focal point, which is what our argument for Danny Welbeck was when people were slating him. Would we go Lamptey right back for extra pace? I don't know, Dan, to be honest, because we did that against Arsenal. And although Lamptey,
too many times,
yeah, we did.
Bombs on forward.
Veltman for me.
We didn't have Caicedo. Jack talks about how Henderson drops in to allow Trent to run on. We do, when we play Estupiñán, that's what we have on that side. Caicedo or McAllister drop in to allow Purvis to go forward. I mean, I would, for me, if he's fit, Veltman all day, every day.
So just from a Brighton perspective, is like the Lamptey debate similar to like the Trent debate, where he's like
to an extent,
his defensive ability is questioned. Maybe not so much as Trent, but he offers a lot going forward.
I think Lamptey is good at defending. I think he's very similar to Trent, I suppose, and he's perhaps better at defending than people give him credit for. But I think Lamptey, when he first broke onto the scene, was absolutely electric going forward. But we also played a back 3, so as a wing back, he had that extra defensive cover. But since he picked up an injury, he just doesn't seem to have that lightning pace that he did. So before, he could bomb up and down the wing. So if he made a mistake, you could guarantee he'd get back quick enough to tidy up. We don't see that anymore. And now we're playing a back 4. I think against Liverpool, who have still got some incredibly, fantastic attacking options, I think Lamptey would be too much of a risk, especially because Purvis has to play at left back.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, since Lamptey's big injury and coming back, he's not quite been exactly the same player. He's slowed down. He's a bit more tentative and whatnot. But yeah, so he's not quite at the level he was, but he's playing a lot more now. So hopefully he can kick on. So.
I think we're definitely seeing that level come back, though. Against Arsenal in the League Cup, he was absolutely phenomenal.
He was,
got himself a goal, with his pace. So for Lamptey, I think it's just a waiting game until we see the same Lamptey that we saw when he burst onto the scene. Dan's pointed out, so our Dan, the Red Seagulls, pointed out Veltman at right back, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Salah will be on the right-hand side. Obviously, if Salah doesn't start up top, because we've seen Darwin Núñez wasn't in training videos. But what excites me about that is we've got March and Veltman. March has played wing back before, so he can help out really well in the defensive duties. So it's almost like a double right back, which we might need at times against Liverpool because there's no doubt that what problems Trent and Salah can cause us.
I think, as well, because when people start seeing the amount of, people start writing us up, like I said earlier, prior to the loss at Bournemouth, we'd won 4 on the trot. So we weren't in bad form. We were just we were being exposed because of the injuries, because of the maybe lack of pace and the lack of press. Like the system has changed. So the style of football that we're playing is not as recognizable or distinguished as it once was because of these hiccups or the aging of the squad. So now loads of fingers are being pointed to Liverpool. It's like, oh, they're not playing the same way that they used to. So now they're in transition. Now's the time to hit them. But at the same time, you're also forgetting that we've got Mo Salah, who has, as far as didn't he break the record for most goals in the Premier League? I think. I don't know.
I think what planet was that I'm not aware of? I don't know when. Last season or.
No, last season. I think he's got like 34 goals in a season.
He did break a record, but it wasn't it because I think isn't Alan Shearer still the all-time Premier League goal scorer? Is that changed?
Yeah. Oh no, sorry,
not man. You don't know these things.
Not Premier League goals. I mean goals in a season, like the actual.
Oh, you silly goose! Oh, okay. That's potential.
I think that was Leon Best.
Ah, yes, Leon Best.
But no, it's just to point out. Actually, I think Dan, as in our Dan, I think it will be the other way around because remember their right goes down our left, so it will be Salah and Alexander-Arnold versus Purvis, which gives me a little bit of because Matoma isn't one for tracking back either. But if Matoma's just bombing on forward, it'll be fine. The thing that worries me most is obviously under Roberto De Zerbi, we play around a lot of the back. We invite the press, we invite the pressure, then we pass through it on the double pivot. Playing like that is scary at the best of times. Against a team like Liverpool, you just have to be absolutely on your game.
It depends how high we press though, and depends who's starting up front. I think if we had Núñez fit, he would run and run and run, and he would close down every ball, and he would be cheered by fans whilst doing so. So he'd get that encouragement to do. I think if we had Luis Diaz, he would do it as well. But I think Luis Diaz is a lot more of a technical player and it's like a flair player than maybe Sadio Mane was, who was like your meat and potatoes, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Like he did all the hard work, but also scored like incredible goals. Firmino again would press. I could see him now if they were going to renew his contract. You'd see him drop deeper and maybe be a bit more of that Rolls Royce footballer, but at the same time, he's our second top goal scorer this season, even though he's hardly played and has had injuries. So he's got something to prove to be the starting striker for Liverpool still, even though Núñez is in. It's like if you play in a more possession based, starting from the back sort of tactic, that does invite us to maybe try and be Liverpool of old if the players want to turn up and the Klopp wants to go, yeah, let's do that today. Because I feel like it's game by game at the moment. We're going to be more pragmatic doing it this way. We're going to be more pressing doing it this way against this team. So, there's there's an element of you're not really sure what Liverpool you're going to get. But I think when people start to doubt us, that's when we start to turn up. And I think that hopefully we will see that. From my perspective, I will hope that happens.
I hope it's a really good game. I hope it's like a really decent back and forth. But I hope you lose. So I'll say that.
Curtis, that's so mean.
I'm sorry, Jack. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Jack. We know you're a guest here, but we want you to lose, man. I'm really sorry.
I'll take a draw.
Yeah, I mean, let's
give me a boring 0-0.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sitting through that in the pouring rain. Come on now.
No, and I just don't see it. So let's go score predictions, and don't forget, guys, if you're watching, drop some in the comments as well. Joe, I certainly don't think it's going to be a 0-0 draw. I mean, what do you make of it? I mean, is our Roberto De Zerbi stat going to be increased at the weekend?
It will, but I don't think we'll win the game, Tom. I think it'll be a draw. I'm going to sit on the fence, and I'm going to go for a repeat from Anfield. I'm going to say 3-3. But I think
absolute bedlam.
Yeah, I think it'll be another comeback game for us. I think Liverpool will come out fighting. They've got points to prove. They've got a lot of doubters at the moment whether they'll make those European positions. It's going to be a really tough game, and it's going to be another Amex Classic. Although we won't be on the winning side, unfortunately, in my opinion, anyway.
Curtis, what about you? What do you think the score is going to be?
In my ethereal wisdom, I'm going to predict a 3-2 scoreline, but I don't know in which direction that's going to go. Brighton, I don't know, but I'm confident. I'm fairly confident, but I'm always confident about our games, just because I'm the only one that seemingly is all the time. So
right, that's it, Curtis. Yes, P45 is getting emailed now.
All right, you gotta pay me first.
Well, I know.
I know, but legitimately, no. I'm pretty confident. I'm going to say 3-2 to us because you put me on the spot. But I feel like it's going to be a tough game. Liverpool won't make it easy for us, as they never do for any team, really, and unless you're like Bournemouth or someone. But we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, we definitely won't park the bus, Kev. We will not park the bus. We will look to get forward as much as possible. So with that being said, Jack, do you think you're going to be able to utilize that space? Do you feel the same as Kev, that there will be opportunities for you to attack and to score?
There'll be opportunities. It's whether we take them, because I just think that the team at the moment is lacking consistency. It's very hot and cold. It's like I say, it depends what Liverpool's going to turn up. Also, we tend to have a pretty good record against you guys, bar the loss that we had last season. I think we had won the majority of our games. So against you, I'm going to go for a draw as well. I'm going to go 2-2 rather than a 3-3, though. I'm going to go for a 2-2. I think that it'll be a back and forth kind of game. I'm also anticipating another injury or a red card somewhere thrown in. I also think by the end of the match, we'll have some ongoing negotiations to sign a certain midfielder of yours.
Matt, you see, I was about to say that CAICEDO is going to score and he's going to put his shirt up and it's going to say, "I'm not in leaving."
Oh, no, I was talking about signing Adam Lallana back.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, fair enough. Actually, no.
Milner wanted him. Milner
Keep
wants
your
him
hands
back.
off Lallana.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I'm thinking of 2-2.
You can't have either. You can't have either. We love Adam Lallana. We hope that when he eventually retires, he does some coaching with us, because he's just such an excellent role model. Kev here says it's criminal. It's 3 p.m. I couldn't agree more. There's goals in this game. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a bit of a goal fest. I'm going to go with 3-2 to Brighton. Just because, obviously, as a Brighton supporter, I have to be. I'm going to go with a Brighton win, but I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, and I think it will be one of those things where we have to fight for it, and it will be like a last 5 minutes sort of job. That's my prediction at any rate.
I don't know. I think just that type of optimism just threw him off, and he couldn't.
And they were
handle
like, Tom's being optimistic. I've got to get out of here. What's going on? So,
I'll also say there's probably going to be like a VAR decision thrown in there somewhere.
yeah, we'll probably give away a penalty.
There'll be a
We've
penalty.
given away, I think we've given away 6 penalties in the last 3 months. I think it's the
Something
most of any
ridiculous.
team in the Premier League. So it's
And we tend to convert
Hopefully-
most of ours, so we don't really miss
Hopefully
penalties very often.
hopefully our VAR can actually pick up if a player is offside or not.
yeah, I'm not
as
going to lie.
opposed
I live in the black
whatever
country,
went
Jack,
on.
and you boys are not popular up here at the moment. Not that it's your fault. obviously.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
it's
Jack,
fine.
come
You can
on
totally
now.
you can totally
Jack,
blame
come
me.
on,
It's
put
fine.
out.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
know.
sorry.
But no, Jack, thank you, so much for giving up some time this evening to come. chat to
No,
us
not a
about
problem.
Liverpool.
It's my pleasure. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll have to get
No
you on.
worries.
Maybe we'll see if you're available post game, and we can hopefully talk about. Oh, Curtis, what you doing, man? Oh, hi, Curtis.
There he is.
Sorry, my internet did a duty. So
Did you do
I
Did you
thought-
do a whoopsie?
I did. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that there's potential of an FA Cup tie on the horizon, so we could always reconvene then if you wanted to. More than happy to
That sounds
come
like
back
a
and
great
chat
idea.
some more.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a great idea.
If we win, you're more than welcome.
yeah, if we lose, we'll never talk to you again.
Yeah, because we don't want Jack sat here next time like, well, what did you say would happen in the last game? So, yeah.
But no, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, Jack. Thank you for all the listeners and viewers who have tuned in, dropped
And
us.
also, everyone, if you could please follow us on our social medias, that's on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and the like. You can find all of our good faces there.
we
yeah,
regularly keep it real on the TikTok.
I am the
Oh.
social media manager over there. So you can see my lovely face doing videos over there, and yeah, please follow us on those spaces because that's where all the good stuff is.
Yeah. Don't, of course, forget to like, share, and
real.
subscribe for more content. And as I like to say, guys, keep it real. And wherever you may be, whenever you may be, we'll see you next time. Take care. Keep it real. Yeah.